Gemini, this is your week ahead astrology forecast by Astrology Motivation from Born Without Boundaries. In these weekly videos, I review the major planetary aspects and transits and how they impact your natal sun. And then I tell you what that means for your bottom line. All you need to know to enjoy these videos is your birth date. That's it, because I will translate everything else for you. We're going to start out really broad with the big stuff, the things that are impacting everyone. And then I'll focus things down into Gemini specific information. And then I will break things down into the 3 decans of Gemini, which will let me know how things are directly impacting your natal sun. So, let's begin. This is for the week of July 20th through the 26th, 2023. I have to read off my notes, guys. You know I do. So what's the big stuff? On the 23rd, between the 22nd and 23rd, the sun is going to transit into its domicile of Leo. That's right. It's going to be Leo season by the 23rd of this week. Why is that significant? For many reasons. Because A, the sun is back home and it tends to shine, but it also tends to want the most attention. This is the king in the castle. Everything should be going well, correct? But what intensifies this transit is that Pluto is in opposition to this transit. That's right. Pluto and the sun are in opposition to each other right now, and they will be for a little bit while longer. This intensifies our personality, our understanding of our own self-importance, who we are. It also can make us confront things that catalyze change, dynamic change, and awakening, bringing things to light or seeing things that we tried to hide from ourselves. The sun is also square to the North and South node, which have just transited into, North node transited into Aries, South node into Libra. The square to the nodes simply with the sun, this simply means that there is a sort of corner we're turning when it comes to who we are. And our focus, or sort of our mentality for understanding or interpreting who we are, is going to be seen through the lens of partnership versus individuality. So partnership is Libra, and individuality or singularity is Aries. Now, the deception is that these are two separate things. They're not. The North and South node are connected. They are one path. The North node, the South node are just two diametric opposite sides of the path. They're the beginning and the end. That's what they are. So what the North node in Aries is asking us to think about, how have we compromised our individuality? Have we been working hard enough on who we are? Personal responsibility, taking ourselves into our own self-control and taking enough initiative, or have we been lost in this comfort zone of partnership, of being with somebody, of coupling, of connection, which is also not bad, because the truth is you can't have one without the other. Can you be a happy single person? Yeah, that's not what we're talking about. But we're talking about learning how to work with others, learning how to work in connection with others. And that only happens well if you have authority over yourself. And so they are, in fact, not trying to oppose each other, but trying to be recalibrated. And because the sun and Pluto is square to this is a dynamic recalibration of how we handle this inside of who we are, and even our morals and our ethics as to what we see these two things as, and how we treat them, and what importance we put on them. It is begging us, the universe is begging us to recalibrate all of this. Now, I speak extensively about duality because I'm talking to the zodiac sign that rules duality, Gemini. This is your area of expertise, finding the balance or the bridge between dualities. So any inputs would be greatly appreciated. We also have another major transit happening. Venus is going into retrograde also on the 23rd. Venus in retrograde begs us to see our value systems and reassess our value systems. What do we desire? What do we think is attractive? What do we think is beautiful? Why do we think that? What relationship does that have to how we see ourselves? Venus is also connected to the nodes. She is trine to the north node and sextile to the south node. So she's trying to harmonize the future by accepting and finding opportunities through, okay, I'm really good at this. So how then can I take that energy and make it harmonious with moving forward? This is a forward motion when it comes to our desires, our ethics, not necessarily our ethics, what we desire. Why do we find something sexy? Why do we find something attractive? Why do we place value on what we place value on? This is a big value shift that is happening right now. For better or worse, I hope for the better. What was I just going to say? Because I just thought of something. Pluto is sextile to Neptune and trine to Uranus. Now, it's sextile to Neptune for the next 13 years, and the trine to Uranus is going to last a pretty long time, too. Anytime Pluto is sextile to Neptune, there's a huge leap forward in technology, usually nuclear energy or nuclear technology. There's definitely going to be some sort of transformation coming through technology, mathematics, huge far-reaching intellect that can reach beyond our normal spectrum of things, can see into the unknown, because Pluto is also trine to Uranus. So over the next 10 years, we should be expecting another huge advancement, but let's see what we do with it, right? It's definitely going to change our value systems, maybe even how we deal with money and resource exchange. But that's getting a little political. Just letting you know. We also have Mars doing a lot of intense things. Mars is in opposition to Saturn, which means rules, laws, and restrictions are really, really, really making us resentful and angry right now. But Mars this week is also trine to Jupiter, which is a blessing. It means that any action or behavior we take right now toward making progress will actually work out very, very well for us. But there's still those restrictions, laws, rules, regulations. And so I'm wondering if it isn't asking us to defy those rules, laws, and regulations. But I don't know. Or change them. Really interesting dynamic. Now I wrote down here, so Mars is trine to Jupiter, but it's semi-square to Neptune. People are having trouble with faith. And so it's like leaps of faith that we need to take right now, because if we keep looking at what we can't do, what we shouldn't do, what we're not capable of, then we're going to fail. That's the temptation, to keep us stuck where we are. That also, though, on the other hand of things, doesn't mean that we should jump into something. No. God, it's so hard to balance this. I was going to say it doesn't mean that we should just jump into things. We need to question our reality. We need to question the boundaries of our reality, but we also need to question the ethics with which we're questioning this reality, or the ethics toward our future and how we want to build out our future, because I feel like both have been compromised. Just an FYI. Let's see. Oh, did I talk about everything that I wanted to talk about? No, one more thing. The Chiron is in Aries, which talks about the wounded warrior, the warrior that wants to fight, that's really motivated to fight hard to help other people not suffer the way they have. Well, now the North Node is in Chiron. So there's this dynamic push toward making the future better and not making the same mistakes. Really interesting questions. Please leave your comments below. Let's get into Gemini specific information, shall we? To get to Gemini specific information, I look at two major things. One, Gemini, what's going on in the zodiac sign of Gemini. And two, Mercury, your ruling dignitary. What's happening with Mercury? So in Gemini, nothing's going on. No major planets, no major luminaries, no major things. But Mercury is in Leo, and it's going to be moving between 17 and 27 degrees Leo. By the 23rd, it will be in a loose conjunction with Venus, which will only get closer and more intense over the rest of the week. As of the 24th of July, Mercury will also be trine to the South Node and sextile to the North Node. No. It'll also be sextile to the South Node and trine to the North Node. That's what I meant. I got that because it's going to be conjunct to Venus, and Venus is already trine to the North Node and sextile to the South Node, and it will be square to Uranus all week. Let's talk about square to Uranus all week, because what that means is major communication glitches and errors, major conflicts when it comes to big tech, social media. I don't know if any of you have been experiencing it. I work in social media, so I have been experiencing it like crazy already. There's a lot of glitches going on. There's a lot of challenges going on when it comes to technology. So this will be a really interesting week. There could be some challenges, especially for you guys, but for all of us this week because of that. The conjunction to Venus is actually really, really beautiful. Mercury conjunct Venus is a personality that has the ability to speak with eloquence and grace, which is really ironic since Mercury is also semi-square to Uranus. I wonder if this isn't some sort of deception to say that everything is okay when it's not. Or maybe it's not. Maybe it's just a bit of encouragement to help guide people forward. But this is a sense of being like eloquence, poetry, this beauty in how you communicate and present yourself. So that will definitely help you a lot. But this Uranus thing could also definitely mean glitches when it comes to tech. Just an FYI. Let's go into the decans. If you know that your natal sun is between 0 and 9, I'm sorry, I talk too much, I'm just saying. 0 and 9 degrees Gemini, you are a Gemini 1. This correlates to birthdays, essentially May Geminis. So anybody whose birthday is between May 22nd and the 31st would be Gemini 1. Your natal suns are semi-square to Chiron. They have been for quite some time, and sextile to Neptune, but only if you're at the cusp. So say May 22nd, 23rd, you guys would still be sextile to Neptune. The rest of you, not so much. All of you are in a semi-square to Chiron. This is tension and frustration that's coming through challenges in your life, feeling constantly challenged, feeling maybe a little more agitated or a little less capable of being able to handle irritation that comes from challenges because you feel like they're happening too often. This could be a perspective, but it's also a tool to say, okay, well, what are the challenges? And maybe the challenges are how I react, and I can look at how I react by every time I'm triggered. So it could be a learning tool for you. This is long term. You also have a long-term square to Saturn, which means there's frustration with restriction and being held back and feeling like you're held back. You're also square to Mars. So you're going to be right in the center of feeling like you're held back and being agitated and angry, but also feeling like, well, then fuck, there's nothing I can do. Everything I try, somebody comes and says I fail because of just their closed-mindedness or their wanting to control things. So there's a major tension building right now in that dynamic for you. You're also trying to Pluto, especially if you're born between May 22nd, 23rd, cusps. So what does that mean? You are the change. And so everything, all the pressure cooker stuff that's happening to you is to push you to push for change. It also means that you have a very imposing energy about your sun right now that will inspire people to make changes. So when you're frustrated, maybe the frustration is trying to lead you toward what needs to change in general. Just an FYI, this week particularly, your natal suns are sextile to the sun. So that means there's opportunity in being seen, in being heard, in being admired, and also in being confident and courageous. It's definitely a time to take that push forward. FYI. If you are Gemini 2, your natal sun is between 10 and 19 degrees Gemini. This correlates to, say, June 1st to June 10th birthdays. Your natal suns are going to be sextile to Mercury through the 23rd. So in the beginning of this week, it's just such a superpower time for you to talk, to communicate, to say things, to take action through words. File that important paperwork, go out on that audition or that interview, present yourself and write and talk and communicate. And because this is just, because there's a sextile to Mercury with your natal sun, and honestly, doors will open for you. But on the 24th, your natal suns are trine to the moon. So this should be a particularly peaceful and tranquil day for you emotionally, or for you to be able to grasp emotions without resistance and heal. And then we have a sextile to Chiron, which is actually long term. The sextile to Chiron means you are motivated to make change because of all the challenges that you see around you and the things that you've been through. And then we have a semi-square to the sun, which means the one thing that could be compromised is your sense of self-esteem or confidence, or agitation and irritation because you don't feel like you're getting enough attention. That doesn't matter. If you let yourself think, it doesn't matter if I'm getting attention. What matters is what I'm doing, what I'm saying, and what I care about getting attention. And if not, maybe I need to look into that and see why. This is the trick, to not take it personally, because with a semi-square to the sun, anything that blocks you, you will take as like a personal slight, and that could trip you up some more. Just an FYI. Now, Gemini 3s. If you know your natal sun is between, I always lose my track, 20 and 29 degrees Gemini, you are Gemini 3s. This correlates to birthdays between the 11th and the 21st of June, right up to that Cancer cusp. So your natal suns are trine to the South Node and sextile to the North Node. What does that mean? That there's definitely a shift in your focus right now, and you are looking to make opportunities in the future by making peace with the past. That's long term, at least for the next 6 months. Your natal suns are also sextile to Venus, which means they will be sextile to Mercury as of the 22nd of this week. This is going to be a gorgeous week for you to be seen, to speak, to have people fall in love with you and fall in love with what you say, to be able to have wonderful romantic conversations, but also just mesmerize people by your presence, and especially by how you talk and what you say to them. So this could be a beautiful week for romance, but also just a beautiful week in general for you guys to be heard, be seen, and get noticed. There is a long-term square to Neptune, which means your perception can be challenged. You could be a little bit too easy to trick or believe the exaggerated or delusional version of things. That's long-term, so it also means that you could really tap in wonderfully to creativity. So with this week, with all these sextiles that you're experiencing, tapping into your creativity, I highly recommend it. You could write your breakthrough novel on this kind of energy. Just an FYI. You're trine to Saturn, which means for this whole year, there's an energy to advance your career and really take leaps forward in your career, and to figure out how to make the laws work for you. Just an FYI. The quincunx to Pluto suggests that you have a frustration in your belly, and that you may frustrate others in general because of an imposing energy that just says, I'm here to shake things up. That could work for you or work against you depending on the week. I feel like this week it will definitely work for you. And then we have on the sorry, I wrote that down wrong. So yeah, you guys let me know in the comments below how this energy is impacting you. And then definitely subscribe to the channel so that we can grow over here on Astrology Motivation. And then come on over to Born Without Boundaries Tarot for your week ahead tarot card message. I love you guys, and I'll see you in the videos. Bye.